To understand the tears of joy that will come at the end of this story, you have to first understand the tears of pain at the beginning. Betty Grebenshikoff was born in 1929, Jewish, in Germany. Those first years, she says, were wonderful, family and friends, and then things started to change.
It was very gradual. The whole thing was very gradual, you know. The Hitler Youth kids were out there. They used to be my friends. They lived right around where we lived in the same apartment building.
One day you're playing with them,
and the next day they called me a dirty Jew. And they were wearing all the nice little uniforms, you know, with the swastikas and everything else. And they went off on picnics and all that. And I said to my mother, I want to go too. They're having such a good time. They're singing, they're marching. And she said, that's not for us. We're Jews. And we have to be very careful.
In Hitler's Germany, growing up as a Jewish child meant losing one thing after another. Betty and her best friend were banned from parks and pools. They weren't allowed to go to beaches or even ride bicycles.
Bands of stormtroopers roved the streets.
And then came November 9th, 1938, Kristallnacht, the night of broken glass. Angry mobs across the country targeted Jewish businesses, synagogues, and homes.
We sat on the floor in our apartment in the dark, and we were told not to make a sound. And we could hear the screaming and the yelling outside, and people looking for Jews and yelling, saying, you know, kill the Jews and all that. And that made an impression, you know.
I can't even imagine.
No.
After that day, Betty's parents knew they had to get out to find safety somewhere else, anywhere else. The family studied Spanish, trying to get to South America, then English, trying to get to North America. When her father finally found a way out, he took Betty to her schoolyard to see her best friend, Anna Marie.
I remember my goodbye with her, and we cried, and we said we'll write letters to each other, and we will always be friends. And she was my best friend, you know. And so we lost touch, totally.
At 9 years old, Betty left everything and almost everyone she had ever known behind. Her father had found a ship to Shanghai.
And these are my parents here.
Today, she's kept a binder of memories, including the receipt for that trip. That paper might have saved your life.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
The port of Shanghai was one of the only places in the world open to Jews without papers. It became home to 20,000. Now, they were difficult years. When the Second World War started, there was the occupation by Japan, and after the war, there was the Communist Revolution. Betty would spend 11 years in Shanghai. She'd meet her husband, they'd move to Australia for a year, and then the US, where they would raise their 5 children.
Oh, there's fish, there's turtles in here.
Today, Betty lives in St. Petersburg, Florida, about a half hour from her daughter, Jennifer. It could not possibly feel more different from her early life.
Now, these two were murdered.
That book of memories has pages of photographs of relatives killed in death camps.
They were in Auschwitz.
Aunts and uncles, cousins, and all 4 of her grandparents. So how many people were killed?
Oh, I would say, I never counted, really, you know, but I would say at least 24, maybe, you know. I don't know whether you've ever heard of the Shanghai Jews.
Now, for decades, Betty has shared her story, talked about what she lived through and what she lost. But at almost every chance, she would also slide something in.
Can I mention her here?
Something that still hurt.
Her name was Annemarie Wauenberg.
The loss of that best friend.
I don't know whatever happened to her. She probably died in the war. But I'm not sure.
When they say age is a state of mind, I think they're talking about Betty.
Elizabeth Gelman is the executive director of the Florida Holocaust Museum. She says too often people get lost in the numbers of what happened. Millions and millions killed. One of the things they try to do is tell personal stories. One of the things they have going for them is Betty.
The moment she starts speaking, all attention, right onto her. I think we underestimate the courage it takes for someone to stand up in front of a group of strangers and talk about the worst moments in their lives.
There are fewer and fewer survivors alive to tell their story. The Jewish History Museum in Santiago, Chile is lucky enough to have another. She's almost the exact same age as Betty, grew up in Berlin, escaped just after Betty, and she too had a best friend she assumed was dead.
Buenas tardes, buenas noches.
Muchas gracias por invitarme.
Well, recently that woman was asked to fill in for someone else in an international Zoom conference. It was last minute. The subject, living through Kristallnacht. It was a story she'd told many times before in Chile, but this time someone in the US was listening.
I was lucky enough to be invited.
Ita Gordon was on that call. She's an indexer with the Shoah Foundation out of California. They document survivors' stories. After the call, she started plugging details from what she'd heard into the foundation's database.
I tried this, I tried that.
She remembers the moment sitting at her computer when she realized she had found two long-lost friends.
I said to myself, I have something here. And then I froze. I really did.
My first thought is this real?
Very quickly, word went out. The families were told and then had a decision to make. Both women are now in their 90s. Was it a door they wanted to walk through?
Mom you never hesitated. There was never a, ooh, should I do this or shouldn't I do this?
I talked my whole life about her, for goodness sake.
Yes.
And I can see Betty.
Hello.
Hello, Betty. Can you see me?
Hello.
Und ich sehe auch Anna-Maria.
When the Shoah Foundation set up this first reunion Zoom call, some were nervous the two women wouldn't have much to say after 5 minutes. They went for 50.
Das ist doch ein Wunder, was uns passiert.
Now, the first topic was basically disbelief, shock at seeing each other after 82 years. From there, they moved on to remembering, playing together, seeing movies, eating chocolate, and how they shared a lack of skill in ballet class.
Deine Mutter und meine Mutter haben so laut gelacht, weil wir alles umgekehrt machten, dass sie rausgeschmissen wurden.
Now, the girl Betty knew as Annemarie Warenberg became Anna Maria. Her family escaped Germany just days before the war and eventually settled in Chile. The only people who got out with her were her parents. Every other member of Anna Maria's family was killed in death camps.
Ich habe keins.
As for losing track of her childhood friend, Anna Maria held on to a note Betty wrote to her 82 years ago. When one day in later years you take this small book in hand, think about how nice it was that we knew one another.
Ja, das fand ich.
Well, they are friends once again.
There was a connection there right away. It's not like, oh my goodness, who's this old lady over there, you know? Nothing like that.
What a pleasure. I'm speechless.
One of the people invited to the call, Ita Gordon, very much the hero of the hour, but only one of many smiles.
What's up, South America?
Betty introduced her family first,
Hi, Betty.
then Anna Maria.
Nice to meet you, Betty.
Lovely to meet you too. I think I have a whole new family. And that's Holly.
In the end, it was everyone together and a moment of pride.
Anna Marie, look what we did, huh? Yeah, Anna Marie, look what we did. It's amazing. And we can't wait to get together. Und das alles nur-
Betty and Anna Maria now have a regular Zoom call every Sunday at noon, but they talk in between whenever they feel like it.
Yeah, good.
They've also made a pact to stay healthy so they can one day do this
L'chaim.
L'chaim.
in person.